All right, so welcome to another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're heading over to Pakistan to kind of get into the heart of Pakistani politics.
Okay.
And specifically, we're going to be dissecting Imran Khan's plan to make a political comeback.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating story,
I bet.
full of twists and turns and drama and just a lot of intrigue.
Lots of intrigue.
Yeah, so I think people are really going to be kind of on the edge of their seats with this one.
I think so. I mean, it's a fascinating case study. We'll be looking at Khan's background, from cricket star to prime minister,
Yeah.
the reasons behind his unwavering popularity,
Yeah.
and the challenges he faces in this quest for a political resurgence.
Absolutely. And the cool thing is that the source material that we're going to be using for this is an exclusive interview that Khan gave to Time magazine.
Wow.
So really, it's like we have a front row seat to history in the making here,
Yeah.
as we kind of hear directly from Khan himself.
Right.
So before we get into like all of the nitty-gritty of the politics and like the rallies and all of that,
Yeah.
before all of that, Imran Khan was like this legend on the cricket field.
Yeah.
So let's start there.
Okay. Khan was born into a well-off family in Lahore
Okay.
and went on to captain the Pakistani cricket team to a historic World Cup victory in 1992.
Wow.
That victory united the nation and launched Khan into the spotlight.
Cricket in Pakistan, it's more than just a game there, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a source of immense passion and a national identity.
Huh?
So yeah, that World Cup win made Khan an icon.
Yeah.
Interestingly, his journey to politics wasn't immediate.
Okay.
It was during his time in the UK as a student at Oxford
Wow.
and a professional cricketer
Yeah.
that he had a political awakening.
Okay, so this is really interesting to me because he saw like a stark contrast between life in a society with a strong rule of law,
Yeah.
like what he observed when he was in the UK,
Yeah.
versus what was happening back home in Pakistan.
Exactly. He saw how the rule of law could empower people and unlock potential, something he felt was missing in Pakistan.
Right.
This experience, along with his growing awareness of social injustices, planted the seeds of his political ambitions.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like this sudden jump from sports star to politician.
Yeah.
It was something that really he like
Still process.
thought about.
Yeah.
It's a process, like you said. But before we like delve into his political career, we have to mention his philanthropic work.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of people might not know about this side of Imran Khan.
Right.
So tell us a bit about that.
Khan established the Shaukat Khanum Memorial Cancer Hospital in Lahore,
Okay.
a state-of-the-art facility providing free cancer treatment to the poor.
Wow.
This project was inspired by his mother's battle with cancer, and it really solidified his image as a man of the people.
That's pretty incredible, especially in a country like Pakistan where access to quality health care
Yeah.
is a major challenge.
That's a huge problem.
So to do something like that, to build a state-of-the-art hospital
Yeah.
and offer free cancer treatment to the poor.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, it's quite a legacy.
Yeah.
And, you could say that all these experiences, cricket, his time abroad, his philanthropy,
Yeah.
they shaped his path to politics.
Yeah.
They gave him a platform, a unique understanding of Pakistan's challenges.
Exactly.
So in 1996, he formally entered politics, forming his own party,
Right.
the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, or PTI.
PTI.
His goal was to create a just and equitable society in Pakistan.
All right, so we have Imran Khan, the former cricket star turned philanthropist,
Yeah.
stepping onto the political stage.
Right.
But, his path to becoming prime minister,
Yeah.
it wasn't easy.
No,
It was a long one.
it was a long and winding road.
It took him over 2 decades
Over 2 decades.
to reach that top spot.
Mm-hmm.
What were those early years like for him in politics?
It was a challenging journey, marked by setbacks and political maneuvering.
I bet.
He was up against established political dynasties
Yeah.
and faced accusations of being an outsider,
Okay.
even allegations of being backed by the military.
And the military's influence in Pakistani politics is significant, isn't it?
Yes, historically, they've had considerable influence
Yeah.
shaping the political landscape behind the scenes.
So how did Khan navigate this complex relationship with the military, especially during those early years?
It's a complicated dynamic.
Yeah.
Initially, the military saw him as a potential ally,
Right.
someone who could disrupt the traditional power structures.
Okay.
But their relationship was marked by tension and mistrust.
Yeah.
Khan openly criticized the military's interference in politics, even accusing them of rigging elections against him.
So he wasn't afraid to speak his mind?
No.
Even when it came to the most powerful institution in the country?
Right.
That's pretty bold.
He was very outspoken.
So how did the public react to his stance?
Yeah.
Did they buy into his message?
His message resonated with a large segment of the population, particularly young people. They were drawn to his charisma, his anti-corruption stance, and his promise of a Naya Pakistan, a new Pakistan, free from the shackles of corruption and dynastic politics.
It sounded like he was tapping into a sense of frustration among the people.
Yeah, definitely. There was a sense that the old ways weren't working, that the country needed a new direction.
And that support ultimately led him to victory in the 2018 elections, right?
Exactly. After 22 years of political struggle, Imran Khan became the Prime Minister of Pakistan.
Wow, 22 years.
It was a monumental moment, a testament to his perseverance and his ability to connect with the people's aspirations.
That must have been a sweet moment for him after years of, battling it out in the political arena.
It was a huge victory.
Yeah, but being Prime Minister is one thing.
Yeah.
Governing is another.
It is.
So tell us about his time in office. What kind of leader did he turn out to be?
Well, it's a mixed bag.
Okay. There were notable achievements. His government received praise for its handling of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Oh, okay.
They took a more targeted approach compared to the strict lockdowns we saw in other countries.
That's pretty significant, considering the global impact of the pandemic.
Yes, it was.
Were there any other achievements we should know about?
His 10 billion tree tsunami initiative was a success. The goal was to combat climate change and deforestation by planting billions of trees across the country. It earned international recognition for Pakistan.
So it seems like he made some progress domestically and globally.
He did.
But I have a feeling there's more to the story.
Oh, there's always more to the story.
His time in office wasn't without controversy, was it?
You're right. While he was initially popular, his government faced criticism for their handling of the economy, for their political tactics, and for tendencies that some perceived as authoritarian.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit. What were the specific criticisms? A major point of contention was his economic policies.
Okay.
Despite promising to break free from foreign debt, his government ended up taking a $6 billion loan from the IMF.
Oh, wow.
This led to accusations of hypocrisy and raised concerns about Pakistan's economic stability.
So that begging bowl approach that he was so against became a reality.
It did.
That must have been a blow to his credibility.
It certainly didn't help. His critics argued that he failed to tackle the structural issues plaguing the Pakistani economy, like tax evasion by the wealthy, which added to the financial strain.
It seems like he was kind of trapped between his campaign promises and the reality of governing a nation with complex economic problems.
It's a tough balancing act.
But the economy wasn't the only source of controversy.
No.
There were concerns about his political style, too.
Yes, opponents accused him of being authoritarian, using tactics like intimidation and censorship to silence dissent and solidify his control. His relationship with the military, initially seen as a source of strength, began to crumble.
Wait, I thought we said earlier that the military might have backed his rise to power.
Right.
What caused that shift?
It was a complex situation. Khan's rising popularity and assertive leadership style made some within the military establishment uncomfortable. They felt he was becoming too independent, challenging their traditional sphere of influence.
So there was a power struggle brewing.
Exactly. The tension came to a head when Khan refused to endorse the military's pick for the head of the Inter-Services Intelligence Agency, or ISI, Pakistan's powerful intelligence service.
That's a bold move, going against the military's choice for such a critical position.
It was a risky move.
Why did he do that?
Khan claimed he wanted someone who aligned with his vision and policies. He saw the ISI appointment as a way to assert his control over the country's security apparatus.
So it was a clash of wills, a battle for control.
Yes. In the end, the military's influence proved to be too strong. Khan's refusal to back down on the ISI appointment triggered events that led to his downfall.
So this ISI appointment seems like a major turning point in his time as prime minister.
It was a pivotal moment.
How did it unravel from there?
The opposition parties, sensing Khan's vulnerability, seized the opportunity. They launched a no-confidence vote against him in parliament.
Oh, wow.
This move was widely seen as being orchestrated, at least partly, by the military establishment.
So the military, seeing Khan as a threat, gave the okay for the opposition to move against him.
Many analysts believe that's what happened.
Wow.
They argue the military considered Khan unpredictable and a liability. They wanted someone they could control.
It sounds like a classic power play.
It was. The no-confidence vote was successful, leading to Khan's removal as prime minister in April 2022.
Wow.
It was an abrupt and unceremonious end to his time in office.
Okay, so we've got this journey, right? Cricket hero to philanthropist to reformer, and then kind of kicked out of power.
Right.
But that wasn't the end of Imran Khan's story, was it?
Not at all. Khan's removal from office was just the beginning of a new chapter, one marked by accusations, attacks, and an unwavering determination to regain his lost power.
Okay, I think this is a good point for us to maybe take a quick breather and kind of recap some of the key points for our listeners.
Sure.
So we've seen Imran Khan go from a cricket icon to a political leader. His rise to power was pretty remarkable. But his time in office was marked by both achievements and controversies.
Yes.
Ultimately, a combination of political maneuvering and a strained relationship with the powerful military establishment led to his ouster.
That's right.
Okay, so that's a great summary. But now, let's get back to the drama.
Okay.
After being removed from office, Khan didn't just disappear from the scene, did he?
Not in the slightest. He launched a campaign to challenge his removal, calling it an illegal conspiracy and demanding fresh elections. His rhetoric became more intense, accusing the new government of being corrupt and puppets of foreign powers.
And I remember those quotes from his Time interview.
Yeah.
He doesn't hold back. He even uses the word jihad.
Yes.
To describe his fight to return to power.
Very strong language.
Yeah, it was a deliberate choice of words.
Definitely. He's framing this as a righteous struggle against injustice, a narrative that's resonated with his supporters.
It sounds like he's tapping into the same frustration and disillusionment that helped him win before.
Absolutely.
But it wasn't just words, right?
No.
There were actual protests and rallies happening.
Absolutely. Khan's calls for mobilization got a huge response from his followers.
Yeah.
Massive rallies and demonstrations erupted in major cities, demanding his reinstatement and denouncing the new government.
Yeah.
These protests sometimes led to clashes with police, escalating political tensions.
So things were definitely heating up.
Yes, they were.
But then in November of 2022, the situation took a terrifying turn, didn't it?
Tragically, yes. During a rally, there was an assassination attempt on Khan's life.
Oh, wow.
A gunman opened fire, injuring Khan and several others.
Oh, my goodness.
One person was killed.
That's shocking. What happened next? Was the attacker caught?
Yes, the attacker was apprehended immediately.
Okay.
The incident shocked the nation and intensified the political turmoil.
Of course.
Khan and his supporters claimed it was politically motivated, accusing the government and elements within the security establishment of being involved.
So he's ousted from office.
Yeah.
And then he's targeted in an assassination attempt.
Right.
And he's pointing fingers at the people he believes were behind his removal.
Yes.
This is intense.
It's a situation filled with danger and uncertainty. The assassination attempt added another layer of complexity to an already volatile political landscape. It raised serious questions about the stability of Pakistan and the safety of political figures.
Yeah. But despite all of this, being removed from office, the assassination attempt, the accusations, Khan's popularity hasn't diminished.
It hasn't.
If anything, it seems to have grown even stronger.
It's remarkable. That's what makes his story so compelling. Despite immense challenges, he's maintained a remarkable level of public support.
It's almost like the more he's targeted, the more his followers rally behind him.
Right.
What's fueling this unwavering loyalty?
Several factors are at play. Khan has effectively positioned himself as a victim, a martyr for the cause of a Naya Pakistan.
Okay.
He portrays himself as the only one who can challenge the corrupt elite and the powerful military establishment.
Yeah.
This narrative resonates with those disillusioned with the status quo.
Okay, so that's a powerful narrative, especially in a country grappling with corruption and inequality, like Pakistan.
Right.
But it's not just his words, right?
Yeah.
There's something about Khan himself that draws people in.
Yes, his charisma and his ability to connect with people on an emotional level are undeniable.
Yeah.
He's a gifted speaker, skilled at tapping into the hopes and frustrations of the masses.
Yeah.
He's seen as a genuine leader, someone who truly cares about the ordinary people.
Okay, so it's the right message at the right time.
Yeah.
Delivered by someone people believe in.
That's a powerful combination.
But, I think we need more than just anecdotal evidence of his popularity.
Yeah.
Are there any polls or numbers to back that up?
Absolutely. Recent polls show Khan remains the most popular politician in Pakistan.
Oh, wow.
His approval ratings consistently surpass the current government's.
Okay.
He also has a massive social media following, with millions of supporters actively engaging with his messages and calls to action.
Okay, so there's data to back up his popularity. But this is Pakistan, right?
Right.
Where the military holds immense sway.
Yeah.
Can popularity alone overcome that kind of power?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
Can Khan's popularity translate into real political power?
Right.
Or will the military establishment, with its deep-rooted influence, continue to shape the political landscape?
It's a high-stakes game.
It is.
And it's not just a political battle.
No.
It's a legal one as well. Remember all those charges against Khan?
Yes. Since his removal, he's been hit with over 140 charges.
140 charges.
Corruption, sedition, terrorism, blasphemy.
Wow.
It's a staggering number.
Yeah.
A clear sign that his opponents want him out of the political game.
So over 140 charges. I mean, that's unbelievable. What are the specifics?
Some relate to alleged financial misconduct during his time in office.
Okay.
Others to his rhetoric and accusations of inciting violence.
Okay.
There are also charges related to alleged misuse of government funds and dealings with foreign entities.
It sounds like they're trying everything to keep him down.
It does seem that way.
But Khan claims this is all politically motivated.
Exactly. He says these charges are just a desperate attempt to disqualify him from running for office.
Right.
And silence his criticism of the government.
Okay.
He's painting himself as a victim of a political witch hunt.
Okay.
And his supporters are buying it.
So we've got this incredibly dramatic situation in Pakistan, right?
Yeah.
We've got Imran Khan, the ousted prime minister, battling legal challenges, survived an assassination attempt, and yet his popularity continues to rise, and he's leading this movement calling for his return to power.
It's a gripping story.
And it's a story that's captured, like, global attention.
Absolutely.
Right? And it's raised questions about the future of Pakistan.
It has.
So as we're examining Khan's plan for a comeback, I think we need to, like, also consider the economic crisis gripping Pakistan. Because this crisis plays a huge role in Khan's enduring appeal.
It does.
I mean, people are struggling.
Yeah.
They're looking for answers. And they see Khan as someone who can provide solutions.
Right.
So I think it's really important to kind of like dive into this economic crisis.
Okay.
And understand just how dire the situation is.
Yes, absolutely.
So give us the hard facts. Paint a picture of this crisis for our listeners.
Okay. The numbers are grim. Inflation is at a staggering 47% year over year. Basic necessities like onions and wheat have become incredibly expensive, with prices soaring over 200%.
200%.
Fuel costs have more than doubled,
Please.
And the Pakistani rupee has plummeted.
Wow.
The country is facing a severe balance of payments crisis with dwindling foreign reserves.
So those are like some really alarming statistics. It sounds like everyday people are bearing the brunt of it.
They are. They're the ones feeling the pain.
So how is the government responding to this crisis? They're desperately trying to secure a bailout package from the IMF.
Okay.
They've also imposed austerity measures.
Okay.
But those have sparked protests and criticism.
Okay.
The situation is highly volatile, with fears that Pakistan could default on its debt.
It's a perfect storm, right?
It is.
Economic hardship, political instability, and a disillusioned population.
And then you have Imran Khan offering a vision of a Naya Pakistan, a promise of change and a better future.
He's tapping into, like, those economic anxieties, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's skillfully tapping into those anxieties and positioning himself as the only one who can rescue the country from this crisis.
Yeah.
He blames the current government for mismanagement and corruption, claiming they're serving foreign interests instead of Pakistan's.
And his message is resonating.
Yeah.
People want a savior. They want someone.
They want hope.
To offer hope, to offer, like, a way out of this economic nightmare.
Right. But is Khan's plan realistic?
That's the question.
Can he actually deliver on his promises? Or is this just political maneuvering, exploiting people's fears?
That's what we'll be exploring.
Okay.
We'll unpack Khan's economic policies, his Naya Pakistan vision, and the potential roadblocks he faces.
It seems like we've only just scratched the surface here.
We have.
So stay with us as we continue to dissect Imran Khan's plan to return to power in Pakistan.
This is going to be good.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated already.
Me too. Okay, so we left off talking about Pakistan's economic crisis.
Yeah.
And how that's kind of fueling Khan's popularity.
Right.
But let's not forget, he was actually in charge when some of these problems began.
Right.
So it's a little ironic, isn't it?
It is a bit ironic. While he's really good at pointing fingers at the current government for the economic turmoil, his own policies during his time as prime minister actually played a role in the current situation. Remember, he initially vowed to end Pakistan's dependence on foreign aid.
Yeah, he called it the begging bowl approach, right?
Exactly. He wanted a self-reliant Pakistan free from international financial institutions.
Yeah, but didn't he eventually have to, go back on that promise?
He did, yeah. Faced with mounting economic pressures, his government secured a $6 billion loan from the IMF.
Wow.
And this wasn't a one-off thing. This was Pakistan's 22nd bailout from the IMF.
22nd.
Yeah, since gaining independence in 1947.
So much for breaking free from debt.
Right.
It seems like the reality of governing kind of clashed with those campaign promises.
It often does.
To be fair, though, managing Pakistan's economy, it's not easy.
No, it's not.
There are deep-rooted problems there.
Yeah.
Like tax evasion by the wealthy elite.
Absolutely. That's a huge problem.
And to his credit, Khan did try to address this.
He did.
Tackling tax evasion was a key part of his platform.
Yes, it was.
He promised to make the rich pay their fair share.
He did.
But was he actually successful?
His efforts, they fell short of real change. The wealthy elite, they're deeply entrenched.
Yeah.
And their ability to kind of, manipulate the system proved too strong.
So he couldn't break free from those vested interests?
Not entirely.
But we also can't ignore the impact of the global landscape on this economic crisis.
You're absolutely right. Pakistan, like many developing nations, has been hit hard by rising global inflation, supply chain issues, and all the consequences from the war in Ukraine.
Right.
These external factors have made their internal economic problems even worse.
It's like a double whammy.
It is.
Internal weaknesses plus external shocks.
Yeah, a recipe for
disaster. So let's get back to Khan's proposed solutions.
Okay.
He often talks about creating an Islamic welfare state.
Yes.
What does that actually mean in practice?
He's described it as a vision for a just and equitable society based on Islamic principles of social justice and compassion.
Okay.
He wants a state that provides basic necessities for its citizens.
With a strong emphasis on education, healthcare, and social safety nets.
So kind of like a blend of Islamic values and a welfare state model.
Exactly.
But how does he plan to achieve this, especially given the current economic challenges?
He hasn't given many specifics. He mentions a new social contract that limits the military's influence, empowers civilian institutions, and creates a fairer distribution of wealth.
Okay, so again, sounds good in theory.
Right.
But is it actually realistic? The military has been a dominant force in Pakistani politics for decades. Can he really curb their power?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah.
The military is deeply entrenched. They have vast economic interest and a really strong grip on power.
Right.
It remains to be seen if Khan, even if he regains power, could successfully challenge them. It's like a David and Goliath situation.
It is.
But let's not forget another layer of complexity here.
Okay.
Khan's foreign policy stances.
Yes.
Which have been, let's just say, controversial.
They have been quite controversial. They've sparked a lot of debate, both within Pakistan and internationally.
Yeah.
He's known for his anti-American rhetoric.
Right.
His close ties with leaders like Turkey's President Erdogan and Russia's President Putin.
Yeah.
And his stance on the Taliban.
Okay, so let's break those down because each one of those is pretty significant.
Okay.
Starting with his anti-American views.
Yeah.
He's been quite vocal in his criticism of the U.S.
He has. He frequently accuses the U.S. of interfering in Pakistan's internal affairs.
Okay.
Exploiting the country for its own interests. And basically imposing like a master-slave relationship.
Wow.
He blames the U.S. for many of Pakistan's problems, from terrorism to economic instability.
That's some pretty strong language.
It is.
I imagine that hasn't gone over well with the U.S. government.
It's strained relations between Pakistan and Washington, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And it makes it difficult to secure aid and cooperation.
Right.
It's also created an image of Khan as kind of unreliable and potentially hostile to Western interests.
It's a risky strategy.
It is.
Especially for a country that's dependent on foreign aid.
Right.
But it probably plays well with his base.
Right, it does. His anti-American stance resonates with a segment of the population.
Yeah.
Who resent what they see as U.S. interference in the region, particularly its role in the war on terror.
So it appeals to that nationalist sentiment.
Yes.
The idea of Pakistan standing up to a superpower.
Exactly.
Now, what about his relationships with Erdogan and Putin?
Yes.
What's motivating those alliances?
It's partly strategic. He views them as potential allies.
Okay.
Who can offer economic and political support.
Yeah.
Especially as Pakistan's relationship with the West weakens.
So he's kind of looking for those alternative partnerships.
He is.
But aligning with those specific leaders raises questions about his commitment to democracy, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It creates an image of him being willing to overlook human rights abuses and authoritarian tendencies for his own political gain.
It's a pragmatic approach, but one that comes with some, ethical baggage.
It does.
And we can't discuss Khan's foreign policy without mentioning his stance on the Taliban.
Right.
I mean, he's been accused of being sympathetic to them.
He has. He's long advocated for dialogue with the Taliban, even when they were fighting the Afghan government.
Right.
He believed that the U.S. military presence in Afghanistan was actually fueling the conflict.
Okay.
And that a political solution was the only path to peace.
So he was really pushing for, negotiation with the Taliban.
He was.
But that kind of put him at odds with the U.S. and other Western powers, right?
It did.
Who viewed the Taliban as terrorists.
Exactly. His stance on the Taliban caused major friction in his relationship with the U.S.
Yeah.
It created a perception that he was siding with extremists.
And remember that time he called Osama bin Laden a martyr after the U.S. raid that killed him?
Yeah, that caused quite a stir internationally.
It did.
That was a highly controversial statement, one he later tried to backtrack on. But the damage was done.
So his stance on the Taliban, his anti-American rhetoric, and his alliances with those specific leaders have made him kind of like a divisive figure on the world stage.
He's a complex and controversial leader, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And he defies easy categorization.
Yeah.
His foreign policy choices have significant consequences for Pakistan's future, especially its relations with the West and its role in the region.
It's a delicate balancing act, navigating those geopolitical tensions while trying to protect Pakistan's interests.
Right.
So I think now let's turn our attention to the upcoming elections.
Okay.
Which is the elephant in the room.
Yes. This will be the true test of Khan's enduring popularity and his ability to convert that support into real power.
Right.
The elections are scheduled for the fall.
Yeah.
And they're shaping up to be a high-stakes event, a battle for the very soul of Pakistan.
All right, so the drama continues.
Oh, it does.
But before we dive into, the election specifics, the big question is, can Khan realistically return to power?
Yeah.
Given all the roadblocks he's facing?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
It's hard to say for sure.
Yeah.
There are forces working for and against him.
Okay, so let's play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
What are the factors working against him? I mean, we already discussed those legal charges.
Yeah.
Could those potentially prevent him from running?
They're a serious threat, absolutely.
Yeah.
If he's convicted on any of the major charges, he could be barred from holding office.
Right.
And even if he isn't convicted, the legal battles themselves, they could drain his resources and harm his image.
So it's kind of a minefield he has to navigate?
It is.
What about the military?
Yeah.
I mean, they were instrumental in his ouster.
They were.
Are they likely to, support his return?
That's highly unlikely.
Yeah.
They see him as unpredictable and a potential source of instability. They're more likely to support someone who's, more aligned with their interests and willing to operate within the existing power structure.
So he's facing opposition from both the legal system and the military establishment. That's, two major strikes against him.
It is.
Are there any other potential obstacles?
There's a chance that his party, the PTI, could be banned from contesting the election.
Oh, wow.
The government has accused them of inciting violence and unrest, and they could use those accusations to kind of like sideline the party.
So it's like a three-pronged attack.
It is.
Legal challenges,
yeah,
military opposition,
yeah,
and a potential ban on his party.
Right.
The odds seem stacked against him.
They do seem that way.
But you mentioned earlier that there are also factors working in his favor.
Yes.
What are those?
His greatest strength is undoubtedly his unwavering popularity.
Yeah.
He's remained the most popular politician in Pakistan with a dedicated following who are deeply invested in his vision for a Naya Pakistan.
We've talked about his charisma.
Yeah.
His ability to connect with people.
Right.
And his skill in tapping into, like, the economic anxieties of the nation. But can that popularity actually overcome these institutional barriers?
Right.
Like the power of the military.
That's the key question, right?
Yeah.
It depends on several things.
Okay.
The fairness of the elections, how effectively he mobilizes his supporters, and whether the opposition parties can unite against him.
So it's like a high-stakes gamble.
It is.
With huge implications for Pakistan.
Yeah.
And even beyond.
And beyond. I mean, the world is watching closely.
Of course. Okay, so I think now let's dive into, like, the specifics of the upcoming elections.
Right.
What's the political landscape looking like right now?
Okay.
Who are the major players?
Well, the main contenders are Khan's PTI and the ruling coalition, which is led by Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. Who's the brother of Khan's longtime rival, former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif.
Wait, Nawaz Sharif, isn't he, like, in exile?
Yes. He was convicted on corruption charges and fled to London in 2019.
Yeah.
But he still holds considerable influence within the ruling party, and his return to Pakistan is a possibility.
So it's like the Khans versus the Sharifs.
It is.
This rivalry that's dominated Pakistani politics for decades.
Yeah, for decades.
This election could determine which dynasty comes out on top.
It could be a dynastic showdown.
But it's not just a two-way race, right?
No, it's not.
We also have smaller parties,
yeah,
independent candidates who could be like wild cards.
It could.
You know, influencing the outcome through alliances or by splitting the vote.
Absolutely.
So it's a very complex and unpredictable political landscape.
It is.
What is Khan's campaign strategy?
Okay.
How is he planning to win over voters?
He's sticking with what's worked for him in the past. Fiery speeches, populist appeals, and a strong anti-establishment message. He's framing the election as a choice between a corrupt and ineffective government and his vision for a Naya Pakistan.
It's kind of classic populist playbook, right?
It is.
Appeal to emotions.
Yeah.
Position yourself as the outsider, the champion of the people.
Exactly.
But is that really enough to secure victory?
It might be. Remember, there's a lot of public anger and disillusionment out there. People are tired of corruption.
Yeah.
Economic hardship and the perceived failures of the political elite. They're looking for someone who can bring change. Someone who offers a different path.
And Khan is offering that alternative.
He is.
A Naya Pakistan, free from corruption and inequality.
Right.
But there's a big difference between, like, promises and actually taking action.
Absolutely. If Khan wins, he'll be under immense pressure to deliver, to make a real difference in people's lives. He'll have to tackle the economic crisis, address corruption, and navigate that complex geopolitical landscape.
It's a tall order.
It is.
Especially considering the challenges, right?
Yeah.
The military's power, the deeply ingrained corruption, and this unstable global environment.
It's a daunting task.
Yeah.
But one that Khan seems determined to undertake. Whether he can succeed, that remains to be seen.
Okay, so I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
You know, exploring this really complex and unpredictable situation in Pakistan.
It is.
We've got Imran Khan, the ousted prime minister, making this bold attempt to return to power.
Yes.
He's facing these major obstacles.
Right.
But he's also riding this wave of popular support.
He is.
And the upcoming elections are this crucial test.
Yeah.
Not just for Khan, but for the future of Pakistan itself.
It's a pivotal moment in Pakistan's history.
Yeah.
A moment that will shape the country's direction for years to come.
And we'll be here, of course, dissecting every development as this political drama unfolds.
It's going to be fascinating to watch it all play out.
But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
I
think, like, it's good to just recap some of those key takeaways for our listeners.
Sure. I mean, here's what's important to remember.
Yeah.
Imran Khan's comeback attempt, it's a long shot.
Okay.
But it's not impossible.
Right.
He faces significant hurdles, but he's drawing on his immense popularity and that widespread dissatisfaction with the current government and these upcoming elections. They're a high-stakes gamble with consequences reaching far beyond Pakistan's borders.
Absolutely. We've been unpacking a lot about Imran Khan, his journey, his policies, his global stances, that incredible popularity that he has, and the hurdles that he faces in this comeback attempt.
Absolutely.
But I feel like there's this one piece of the puzzle that we haven't really explored yet.
Okay.
And that's the whole security situation within Pakistan.
Right.
Decades of grappling with terrorism.
Right.
I feel like that has to have a huge impact on everything,
of course,
including politics.
Absolutely. You're right. It's a crucial factor that we can't ignore.
Yeah.
Pakistan has been on the front lines of the war on terror.
Right.
Dealing with threats both from within and from across its borders. And the Taliban's resurgence in Afghanistan has only added to the complexity and the concerns.
Yeah. It's a region that's really on edge, and Pakistan's right in the heart of it all.
It is.
So how has Khan approached this?
Yeah.
What's his stance on terrorism and security?
Well, as we discussed earlier, he's been pretty critical of the U.S.-led war on terror.
Right.
He argues that it's actually destabilized the region and fueled extremism.
Okay.
His approach prioritizes dialogue and engagement over military intervention.
So less of a hard power approach.
Yeah, less hard power.
More of a focus on communication and diplomacy.
Exactly.
But in a practical sense, how does that work when you're facing, like, actual terrorist threats?
Right.
Especially with the Taliban now controlling neighboring Afghanistan.
Yeah, that's a big concern.
Yeah.
Khan's belief is that a stable and prosperous Afghanistan is in Pakistan's best interest.
Okay.
Especially when it comes to security.
Okay.
He's advocated for increased economic cooperation and development assistance to help rebuild Afghanistan and prevent it from becoming a haven for terrorist groups.
So it's like a regional strategy, right?
Yeah.
That tries to tackle the root causes of instability rather than just focusing on military solutions.
More of a long-term vision addressing the underlying issues.
But has he, like, laid out any specific plans for how this would actually work?
Well,
especially considering the Taliban's history.
He's been a bit vague on the details, but he emphasizes the importance of a multilateral approach.
Okay, so what does that mean?
It means getting regional powers like China, Russia, and Iran involved.
Oh, wow.
As well as the international community.
So it sounds like a really complex diplomatic dance trying to balance all these competing interests, right?
Yeah.
And find a path to stability in such a volatile region.
Exactly.
Even for someone as political skilled as Khan.
Yeah.
That's got to be a huge challenge.
It is a monumental task. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
It'll require, a combination of skillful diplomacy, unwavering political will, and a willingness to make some tough decisions.
Right.
And, the stakes are incredibly high.
Yeah.
Pakistan's security and stability are fundamentally intertwined with what happens in Afghanistan.
And we can't forget about the human cost of all of this.
Absolutely.
I mean, terrorism has taken a devastating toll on Pakistan.
It has.
We're talking about thousands of lives lost, families shattered, communities scarred.
Right.
It's a tragic reality that, like, weighs heavily on the nation.
It's a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict, really.
Yeah.
And the desperate need for peace and reconciliation.
Yeah.
It's something that any future leader of Pakistan will have to confront.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've delved deep into Imran Khan's plan to return to power.
Yes.
We've looked at his past, his successes and setbacks, the reasons behind his enduring popularity, the obstacles that he faces, his views on the economy and global affairs, and that really complex security situation in Pakistan.
It's a complicated story.
It is.
With a lot of moving parts.
So now, like, I think the big question is, what does all of this mean for Pakistan's future?
That's the question everyone's asking, isn't it?
Yeah.
The stakes really couldn't be higher.
Yeah.
Pakistan is a nuclear-armed nation in a volatile region facing immense economic and security challenges.
Absolutely.
The decisions made in the coming months, both by its leaders and its people, will shape the country's trajectory for years to come.
It's a defining moment, right? A time filled with uncertainty.
Yeah.
but also the potential for significant change.
For sure.
And Imran Khan is right at the center of it all.
He is.
This polarizing figure who evokes both strong admiration and deep apprehension.
He's a charismatic leader who's managed to tap into the hopes and anxieties of a significant portion of the Pakistani population. He's offered this vision of a Naya Pakistan, this promise of a new and better future. But he's also a controversial figure, known for his fiery rhetoric, his unpredictable foreign policy positions, and that often strained relationship with the powerful military establishment.
It's a complex and multifaceted story that continues to unfold. So as we kind of wrap up our deep dive here, we want to leave you with some key takeaways to consider.
Pakistan is at a crossroads. The upcoming elections are a pivotal moment, a chance for the people to shape their own destiny. They face a choice: the familiarity of the established political dynasties, or the promise of change embodied by Imran Khan and his Naya Pakistan vision.
And this choice has major consequences for Pakistan's place in the world.
It does.
Khan's foreign policy, with its anti-American undertones, and his alignment with leaders like Erdogan and Putin, could dramatically reshape Pakistan's relationships.
It could.
Its role on the global stage.
It could really shake things up.
And we can't forget about that economic crisis.
No, absolutely not.
Whoever takes charge is going to inherit this enormous task of stabilizing the economy, taming inflation, and addressing the struggles of everyday Pakistanis.
And then there's the security situation, which remains an ongoing concern. Of course, the Taliban's return to power in Afghanistan and the ongoing threat of terrorism will require a delicate balance of diplomacy, military readiness, and a commitment to addressing the root causes of instability.
So as we conclude this deep dive, we really want to leave you with some thought-provoking questions.
All right, I like it.
What path will Pakistan choose?
Yeah.
Will they embrace change?
Okay.
Or cling to the familiar?
Right.
Will they forge a new path on the world stage?
Yeah.
Or hold fast to those existing alliances?
Good questions.
Will they overcome their economic and security challenges?
Yeah.
Or be overwhelmed by them?
That the answers to these questions, they're going to have a profound impact, not only on Pakistan, but on the entire region and potentially the world.
So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
On this exploration of Pakistani politics.
Absolutely. It's been a fascinating journey.
Yeah, it has.